lots of people who are who have signed up and who are joining us more and more by the minute, and we're so glad to have you all here. We're hoping that we're going to be able to provide you with lots of great value in the next hour of talking shop about the business of blogging. And for anybody here who doesn't know who Matt is, Matt, I'd like to give you a little bit of an introduction, if I might. Matt is one of the OG travel bloggers. He and I actually started traveling and travel blogging around exactly the same time in the same year. We were actually in Thailand at the same time. The only thing was we didn't know one another at the time. And Matt is, you know, if we compare Matt and I, he's a superstar. That's why he has the Superstar Blogging School. From the start, Matt took blogging very seriously as a business. He became a student of the industry that was emerging around both of us. And now Matt is not only the top travel blogger, he's also a New York Times best-selling author of How to Travel the World in $50 a Day. He has a more recent book as well called 10 Years a Nomad, which is a personal memoir. And he's also founder of TravelCon. It's one of the leading travel media conferences, which I'm hoping is still going to be a go this September in New Orleans. I've got my fingers crossed because I went last year in Boston and it was fantabulous. And also the founder of the Superstar Blogging School, where you teach everything that you've learned since before the industry even existed until this time and moment now. And I'm really excited to talk to you today, Matt, about talk shop with you about blogging and where we've been, where we've come from, and ultimately where we're going. So thank you.
Well, I'm excited to be here and just talk about blogging and help your readers, right? These are all your people. So I'm happy to help them out. And what else are we going to do inside on a Tuesday?
Yeah, absolutely.
Days matter anymore. I just feel like time is a social construct that there's just, I wake up, there's Twitter time, and then there's bedtime.
Well, you know what? I've personally found, and I don't know if you've experienced the same thing, but in traveling full time and living around the world, you know, seasons become inconsequential because we're not actually in one place to experience a full year of seasons. And days of the week also get, you know, when you're traveling, really, what does a day of the week matter? I've always said the only reason I know it's the weekend is because I receive less emails.
Yep. Yeah, true. When you're on the road, every day is Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not such a bad thing. Actually, that reminds me of, there was a documentary, I don't know how old ago it's now, almost 10 years, on Matt for Saturday. You introduced me to that.
It came out in 2008.
See, there you go. Over 10 years now. Wow.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
My friend introduced me to it. I've actually met Brooke on many occasions. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he did. It was a beautifully well done documentary, ahead of its time, I would even say.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, travel is a timeless experience. The emotion and the why of travel doesn't really change. So, I mean, that movie is still relevant, you know, 12 years later. I think his trip actually took place in 2007. I mean, it's still relevant because it just encompasses why and the struggles of the road. I mean, it's the same story, you know?
All right. So I wrote a couple of questions out because I was really excited to do this webinar with you. And I want to talk about a few of the elephants in the room. But first, shortly after the pandemic hit, a friend of mine on Facebook said, well, what are you going to do with all this time you have on your hands now? I mean, there's only so many posts you can write about staying at home as a travel blogger. And it was a difficult I mean, it was meant to be, it was out of ignorance ultimately, but what it did was really, it rang home for me, the fact that we make this look effortless, but really there was so much more work to blogging than the actual writing of content. And even though maybe we got into this solely to write content, there's a lot more to it. And I'm curious for you, what is the ratio for you in terms of how you spend your time between writing content and some of the other tasks that you do as a blogger?
Well, you know, one of the things that I think I have that makes me different from other bloggers is I have, you know, a whole team, right? And there's 4 other people that work on the website besides me. And they help schedule our social media, run our events, do the tech support, and, you know, research and content updates, and just, Chris is here moderating this stuff. So there's a lot going on, but when we're not writing travel stuff, it's a lot of just creating content and managing social media. I would say that's like 80% of our time, either writing new content, updating old content, or optimizing for SEO. And then the flip side of that is, answering comments on social media, replying to emails, posting on social media, doing live webinars, events. Those are really the two things that take up the most time. And, we have 1,500 pages now, if not more. And so, one of the downsides to travel is that, everything constantly changes, right? So, that hostel you stayed at 10 years ago now sucks and you have to take it off your website. Whereas if you run a fitness website, the proper way to, do a pull-up is sort of the proper way to do a pull-up. It doesn't change, over time, where travel is constantly changing. So, we spend a lot of time updating content. And so, when I'm not on the road, it's pretty much updating content or creating new content. So, that's one of our big projects right now is just updating as much content as we can while nobody is on the move.
Absolutely. And like you say, you have a team of people to help you out now that I'm sure has grown with you as you scaled your own business. How many years into blogging was it before you started taking on team members?
I've had like a tech person probably since 2010. And then in like 2011 or 12, I started hiring part-time VAs just to manage helping me put the content up. And then the end of 2013, early 2014, I got a full-time assistant. And then from there, we just every few years have sort of added another team member. Because, as you said, there's so much to do. So I think it's really important that you don't try to do everything. That even if, you're not ready to have full-time staff, you have part-time virtual assistants or someone to help you even just schedule on social media, because it's the mundane tasks that was taking so much of my time that I really wanted to, offload so I could have more time creating the content, because we all have our like one thing we're good at or couple of things we're good at. And, I'm terrible at design. So like, I don't want to do design stuff. I'm not like, I understand how the website works, but I'm not like an innate coder. So I don't want to do that stuff. So you should always focus on the core things you're good at and then push everything off to other people. Because even though it is a cost, that time you've saved will allow you to create more content and have more time to generate revenue, which then pays for the people. It's a scary thing, hiring someone, because now you're not responsible for their salary and all that. But I never would have been able to grow without a team.
You're absolutely right about that. And also too, this is testament to the degree to which you have a business mind and have applied business strategies to blogging straight from the beginning, which is really important. Jane has a question for later, but I think I'm going to ask it right now because it is directly related to what you said. And she said, what was your income threshold, or what would you suggest an income threshold should be before you start to outsource?
I don't really think there is an income threshold. When I started in 2008, I even put all my money into VAs and design stuff then. Granted, I was working a job at the same time, and I don't think you should quit your day job until your blog pays your bills. So it allowed me to put any revenue in. Even when my blog was paying my bills, I think you just have to put it, go all in. And even if it means you're making less money, you need to free up time, because there's always more money to be made, but you can never get time back. So you never really want to trade your time for money. And so, if you can afford your basic needs, whatever it is, whatever's left over, you should reinvest into your website. If you can afford your rent or your travel and food, left over, build that team until you don't need to build that team anymore, because that freed up time allows you to grow.
Absolutely. And I want to reiterate something that you said a little bit earlier that I think deserves the reiterating. And that is that you have recognized the tasks that you either don't like to do or don't know how to do well, and have outsourced those tasks. And this is a very important business thing to do. I think a lot of us, when we start in a small entrepreneurial venture, we try to do everything ourselves, often out of necessity. And that's fine to a point. But if you want to scale, you not only need to reinvest your profits into the business, but you also need to outsource that. And that actually leads me to my next question, which is, I mean, when you and I started blogging, travel blogs in particular, but any blog in general, they were very personality centric. I mean, really, travel blogs were just glorified travel journals. And that's pretty much what you and I did. We just kind of wrote about what we were doing wherever we were doing it, without much thought to anything else. And of course, as the travel blog industry grew up and around us, so too did a lot of different opportunities for monetization, not only from ads on our site and building affiliate networks, but then also developing products and services, anything from ebooks to courses to coaching to tours to conferences and you name it. And now that the blogging industry is quite sophisticated, I'm finding the general thought is that a blog in and of itself is not a business, but rather a means to an end. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I mean, I think they're all personality driven too. I mean, people follow you because they like you. I mean, there's so many content farms out there, right? I mean, think of, why do you stop following a blog? Because you just grew tired of the person's content, or you moved on. I mean, you can't take it personally. I mean, we've been doing this for 12 years, right? So like, if somebody started following us 12 years ago and they're still following us now, I mean, that blows my mind. There's very few websites that I think there's probably like 3 websites outside the travel space that I've been following since I started, right? I mean, there's not that many you keep up with, for so long. But at the end of the day, people feel connected to you, right? It's all about the personality. Otherwise, you're just random content, and you're no different. And I think this is perfectly emphasized by the coronavirus, because if all your website is Google traffic, when that goes away, you have nothing there's no plan B. Andrew Carnegie said, you should put all your eggs in one basket if you control the basket. Well, none of us control Google or Facebook or any of that stuff that we draw new readers from. So I've always been a proponent is you should never put all your eggs in one basket, and that includes Google. And so, if you build up a community of people, I mean, look, you have 68 people from your community joining us today. If you build a community of people, then you always have something to fall back on. And really, every website is about a community. And the only way you can get a community is if you're your personality. Mm-hmm. And, I would say that the difference between me and you in 2008 and what would happen now is, like you said, like we were just blogging about whatever, right? I did this today. You can't be so generic, I guess, not generic, but like, it can't be just about everything, right? I think if I were going to start a blog today, I as a personality, but I would do it on like a narrow topic, right? Let's say I just really love Austin and I want everyone to come to Austin. I would just blog about Austin, but it would still be me. I just wouldn't have like a blog about traveling the world. It would be very difficult to break through the noise on that. Maybe if you like, there was a new platform and you were the first person on that platform, that might be different. But in general, just travel around the world blog would be hard to, make a big thing.
That's gold. And that's something that I talk about and that I know that you also talk about in your course about the business of blogging, is that it's very important to choose a niche and to specialize. You don't preclude other people who are interested in reading you for your voice and your personality, but the only way to break through the noise these days is to have that specialty and to be able to write about that one topic that then becomes searchable by people who are looking for that specific amount of information. If we think about how we navigate the web these days, we're usually asking and searching with fairly specific questions. And the way that we are discoverable to new readers is by demonstrating that we have the expertise to answer those questions. Whereas, the average, hey, I'm in this place and then that place and read me just because I'm traveling around the world. Yeah, it's kind of hard these days. It's hard to do that.
But as you said, like we have fairly specific questions on search, right? And so Eliza makes this point about us being frank with our opinions, and there's so much voyeurism like that you see, especially from Instagrammers. It's like, just look at me, and one thing you gotta understand is nobody gives a shit about your life. Like, we all have own problems, right? We all have shit going on. I don't want to just constantly watch you live your best life while I'm in my office. I don't mind if there's a component that allows me to do what you're doing. And I think that the most successful people, the people that last the longest, not only are sharing their experience, positive and negative, because nothing's perfect all the time, but also is doing so in a way that says, hey, you can do this too. Whether it's learning how to, travel the world or fish in Alaska or do yoga, you have to be relatable. And the only way you do that is, one, through sharing the positive and the negative, but also, helping people do that too, right? I think one of the downsides that you see a lot of people is, I just want to be an influencer. Yeah, sharing pictures of you in Bali with some inspirational quote, like, I'm going to only be interested in that for so long.
Yeah, it's generic. And actually, you've just pinned one of the reasons why I actually don't do Instagram, is because I find so much of it is, look at me wearing a floppy sun hat and a sundress and with a beautiful vista behind me, but it lacks context, and it lacks the authenticity of the actual experience itself. And I think that's a trap that we can all fall into, whether or not.
Yeah, I'm saying you could do Instagram the way you want to do it.
I could. And actually that brings up, you're right. I stopped doing Instagram because I got kind of ticked off with how it was being used. But I think the real reason I stopped using Instagram is because, even though you and I both have teams who help us run our blogs, there are still only so much of us that can go around. And I think if you and I tried to be on all the social media platforms, there would be no room left for our actual websites. So I think it's important in developing a blog to try out different platforms, to see how they work for you, and to test the results thereof, and then to be willing to make some decisions about who your audience is and where they are and how best to reach them.
Right. I mean, it's, I hate video, so you're never going to see me on YouTube. Probably not on TikTok. My team is like, you got to do TikTok, but no. But I love Twitter. Twitter's my favorite platform, followed by Instagram. So I'm heavily on those two. And Facebook is basically just a content feed. And I reply to all the content there, but you know, I mean, we used to draw a huge number of readers from Facebook, and you know, pre-COVID, like I mean, it really went to like single digits as a percentage, and like I could just forget about Facebook, and it really wouldn't affect my day.
And that's the other thing too, is the algorithms are always changing. So not so many years ago, Facebook was a very effective marketing platform for most people. And then algorithms would change, or our business practices change. And I think one of the important things as a blogger is to be willing to roll with the punches, to go with the flow, and also to adapt our practices and our businesses to whatever the current environment demands.
Right. I mean, I think of all the money I spent on trying to get those Facebook likes. And then I mean, I was looking today, and I think we have about 270,000 likes. The organic reach on a post that I actually really like, because April is 12 years exactly doing the website. So I posted something about it. Facebook said it reached 10,000 people. I mean, so that means, you know, 260,000 people that follow my site never saw that post. And so I'm just not as good as it used to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to address the elephant in the room before we go any further, and that is the state of the blogging industry in general, the travel blogging industry specifically. I saw you, or I heard you do a podcast with World Nomads just a few days ago, and you said you're not even looking at the numbers. You're not even looking into Google Analytics and the traffic and income, because it's gone down extraordinarily for all of us at this time. Do you have any feelings for where the travel blog industry is headed from here?
You know, I started this during the last recession. So, you know, our plan B was, you know, we were overdue for a recession because it's been 12 years. So I thought, you know, no matter what happens, everyone's going to travel on a budget. Right? Great. Everyone's broke. They're going to type in how to visit Paris on a budget. That's going to be great for us. There was never a plan where nobody would move, right? Because that was obviously the movement. Nobody plans. It's the Black Swan event, so to speak. But, you know, I've been looking at the comment feed, and, you know, somebody says this will separate people. And I think that's really true. I think, you know, in the last 4 or 5 years, especially with the rise of Instagram, you've seen just a glut of just terrible content, you know, because so much money is going into just, you're an influencer here, you know, every hotel is like, we got to get those influencers. So here, you know, every small tourism board startup is just here's some money. So I think you're going to see a lot of that go away. But I always describe it as sort of like the restaurant industry. This is a bad analogy right now, but you know, there's so many restaurants in the world. Most of them are mediocre crap. They don't last very long, but the good ones stay forever. And nobody is like, oh, there's a really good new restaurant. No, I don't want to go there. We all want great new restaurants to try, right? We always, you know, so if there's great new content out there, we're going to gravitate toward it. So you don't be discouraged if you think, oh, now's a bad time to start a blog, or there's just too much content out there. There's always too much content. I mean, we've been having this conversation of, is it oversaturated for 10 years, you know? That doesn't matter. If you have a good idea that you believe in, go with it. If it's good, people will gravitate toward it. But now I think is a good time to start because, well, one, you're trapped inside, right? So like while you're home, you have tons of time to play around with the website, learn the ropes, test out content, you know, figure it all out with very little downside. And it's not going to affect your travels, right? You're not on the road right now thinking like, oh, I have to get back to the hostel to figure out this WordPress plugin. No, like you're just at home. And so I think, I started my blog when I was at home after my first trip, and I had lots of time on my hands to really figure out what to do. So if you have a lot of time, now is a good time because you're not affecting your trip. So you're not ruining that experience. You're learning this before you go so you can utilize your time better. There's very little economic downside because, it's not like, oh, I have to start this blog to pay for my hostel tomorrow night. You're at home. You have lots of time, and you'll find out very quickly if you like it or not. And if you don't, well, there you go. You when you ran through Tiger King, now you have something else to do.
You touch upon two very important things here. The first of which is that I think it's really important to, just like you say, start blogging, start your online business before you leave home. Don't do what I do, which is to learn to travel full-time concurrent to developing an online business, because personally, I found that I consistently sacrificed one or the other. I sacrificed having a good travel experience in order to spend more time working on my business, or I sacrificed a business opportunity in order to have my experience on the road. And one of my niches is that I teach people how to travel full-time in a financially sustainable way. So I'm focused more on people who are working towards careers as digital nomads and traveling the world full time. Do not do them both at the same time. It is, if there's any choice about it, definitely get the foundations of your online business and your blog going before you leave home. And like you say, now is a great time to do that. Not everybody has hordes of time on their hands at the moment. In fact, some people I know are juggling homeschooling their kids, plus working from home, plus, other obligations. But something that I feel personally that has helped me through this time, because these are really challenging times. And in my experience and the experience of the people that I've been speaking to, we're all kind of hitting a wall at one time or another. And the way through that is to have a project that we can come out on the other side of this pandemic and say, hey, I did that. I made that, I created that. And like you say, even if you start a blog and start working on it and then decide that perhaps it's not going to be your next career, you still came out of this time going, you know what, I did something good with that time. And I think there's no time like the present. So I want to start getting into some of your specific blogging advice, even more specific than what you've already been talking about. And we're segueing from these questions with this discussion that we'll be having into questions as well. So if while we're chatting, anybody who's watching has any specific questions, please put them in the chat. We are keeping an eye on it, and we can answer those questions as they're asked. And the first question I have for you, Matt, is it's a general question, but I think it's an important one, and it is, if someone's looking at starting a blog, what's the first piece of advice you give them?
Well, I think, we've sort of touched upon this already, is that, to be sort of niche, right? I don't think there is a good market for just a generalist website as a profession, right? I think if you just want to blog because for fun, and this is sort of like a side thing for you, do whatever you want. I mean, just because you like to cook doesn't mean you're going to open a restaurant, right? Some people just want to get better at cooking for the intrinsic nature of getting better at cooking. Just because you want to have a blog doesn't mean it has to be a business. Sometimes you just want to blog because it's fun and you get to meet a lot of people through it. But I would say that, if the eventual long-term goal and is, maybe it's not there yet, but would be to get niche, right? Think of like one thing really well and just talk about that one thing. Don't try to be everything to everyone, because there's just so many blogs out there that people are now realizing, hey, there's a fire hose of content out there. Let me just segment it out and just get the one thing I want. So they're looking for, much more narrow topics. They want that one blog and that one thing that goes deep. So people want depth, not width. So just try to go really deep into one subject. And I would say, because your interest might change, don't create a URL that is very specific to something that cannot be changed in the future. You know, Matt Travels Asia is only useful if I'm in Asia, right?
Yep.
I mean, there's, you know, Stephanie Yoder, she had her blog when she started 20-something travels. Well, when she became 30-something travels, she had to totally rebrand everything. And, you know, it's just technically a mess. So try to think of something, a name that's a little bit versatile, so that as your interests change, your website is easily changed without too much confusion.
Absolutely. And I think that is important. You and I both have done a couple of rebrands over the years, but our URLs have been such that we've been able to, the web addresses, the URLs have been able to flex with our rebranding, and that's always very important. Ken is asking about where, what a good source or resource would be to find quality in terms of the quality of work they provide, as well as cost-effective virtual assistants.
There's the website upwork.com, which is usually where we go to for team members like that. You can also try the website staff.com, which is a company that finds virtual assistants. I think they're a little bit more on the higher end and maybe more for someone who's looking for like a full-time VA. But I would say if you just need like a few hours a week, upwork.com can find you people from around the world to help. Quality varies, so always look at reviews. One thing we like to do is give somebody a task that if they completely mess it up, is like you can redo pretty easily, and it has no consequence, right? So you know, if that way, like, okay, if you can do this simple task, then you give them a little bit more difficult and a little bit more difficult, rather than just, you know, you're like, okay, I have this really important project, and then they mess it up and you're screwed. So that way you can sort of find quality.
Yep, I agree wholeheartedly, and I think that it's also important when you're starting with somebody that you haven't worked with before to give them a couple of almost test assignments. I mean, they could be real work, but something that you can. It's almost like a probationary period. Don't hire someone outright because of a really fancy-looking Upwork profile. Hire them because they've demonstrated that they can do the work. I'd like to add to it that I've found the majority of my assistants through forums and groups that are part of my industry. So whether it's a group about the business of blogging, or a group for location independent entrepreneurs or whatnot, I'll often field that to the group. And if there's someone in that group who's capable, or someone in that group who has an assistant they can refer to me, I've immediately got the testimonial of, hey, this person is working for someone else, works well with them, and they've got some extra time for me. So that's often how I've hired my assistants.
And before we move on to the next question, just a little hack for this. When you give somebody work, do a screen share. Don't type it out in an email. Actually, like, make a video explaining what to do and walking through every step. That way they can see it, they can hear it, and like they can sort of match what your screen and their screen should look like. If they still can't do it after that, you know, maybe you didn't explain it well, but then like if you re-explain it and they still can't do it, move on. Because if I give you a screen, like basically a video tutorial of like how to put in meta tags, and you mess that up, well, can't give you anything more, you know?
100%. I learned the hard way. I initially started writing out really detailed manuals, and I found that my assistants just couldn't get it. There was some were better with it than others, but then once I moved to creating video tutorials by doing screen shares, it's really easy to do. You can record your screen on QuickTime or any in-house video player on your computer, and you can create videos that then you can use as tutorials for your current assistants, and if you need to outsource further, to further staff members as well. Andrew has a really interesting question, and he is asking, do you suggest video blogging over written content? I'm a criminal defense lawyer with a lot of useful advice for people. I would just, I'll put in my 2 cents first before I throw it over to you, Matt. I would say that it really depends on your personality, and it really depends on how you're comfortable. Some people are really comfortable in front of the camera and their personality shines that way. Other people prefer to express themselves through the written word. So I think it goes down first to preference. And with a caveat also that all forms of blogging take a lot of time, but videos in particular can be extraordinarily time consuming, from writing out the scripts to filming them to then the laborious process of editing them. So if you're going to get into video, just be prepared for it to be very time consuming. What are your thoughts, Matt?
I agree. I actually have nothing to add. I think, I hate video, which is why you don't see me have a YouTube channel. But some people just like it better than writing. So I think do what you're passionate about, because if you hate video but you do it anyway, it's going to come through on that video. And if you hate writing, it's going to come through. So just do which one you prefer.
Yeah. And it's also important to note that there are two, you can do both, one or the other or both, but YouTube in itself is kind of a search engine unto itself. So it works with different algorithms. So it's important to get to know the algorithms of whatever modality and platforms you're working with primarily. Kat is asking, have you ever had an issue with people stealing your content by copying and pasting and publishing on their own sites or photos? She says, I know we can watermark photos to help with that, but what about the content? I know this is a huge problem in the industry already. Matt, how are you dealing with this?
Everything is copyable. I mean, we always find content farms taking our content, and then you just have to go to their host, file a complaint, and it gets taken down. It's just a giant game of whack-a-mole. If a big website takes it, I mean, they'll take it down pretty quickly, but most of the time people that steal content are just like small content farms just trying to rank on Google. They're not real websites. It's not like, Travel and Leisure is going to just reprint an article, for big companies, big websites, they know the legality of that. And so nothing you can really do about it. I mean, what's important is that Google will know that you're the original source, and they're not going to rank like anybody else for that. Like, it knows, it's smart enough to know that this dinky website is not the real person, and that actually you are the real person. So, I mean, if somebody sends me a link like, hey, I think this website's stealing your stuff, like, we'll send the DMCA to get it taken down, but it's not something that keeps me up at night.
No, I would agree with you in general as well. The DMCA takedown notice, I've done it a few times. Most of the time, I just trust that Google recognizes that I was the original person that wrote the content. And, like you say, the major sites aren't going to do that. Occasionally, I have been approached by major sites who want to republish my content or who want to use my photos. And for that, there's a lot of different ways to deal with that, but it is very much an above the board request and something that we can address in a variety of different ways. Jane is asking, is there an affiliate broker or specific affiliate that you would recommend? I'm assuming she's referring to affiliate income. Of course, that's one of the forms of income that we as travel bloggers earn is affiliate income. So basically, if you and I are speaking about a product or service that we endorse, we can include what's known as an affiliate link. It'll take the reader to that web page, that product or service. And if they make a purchase, we get paid a small commission. Do you have any favorite affiliate providers that you work with, Matt?
I mean, there's so many. I wish they would all just be on one, because, there's Impact, Aventlink, CJ, Tap. There's so many that just come, AWIN. So really, what you really want to do is just, if you like a company, go to their website, and they'll just let you know where they, what their commission platform is. Some of them are on Commission Junction. Some of them do it directly. So like, World Nomads, they run it themselves. Skyscanner runs it through Commission Junction. Hostel World runs it through a company called Partnerize. Bluehost runs it themselves, whereas HostGator is on Impact. So, it's all, it's all varying. So it's just more important to just find the companies you like, find the platforms they're on, and sign up.
I agree. I would say at last count, I think I was working with 25 different organizations with regards to affiliate sales. And a lot of them are just individual providers, individual companies that have their own affiliate programs. And some are tapped into some of the major ones. Another big affiliate network is Share a Sale. That's in there as well. And there's also, I'm going to talk about it. I'm sure you heard about it. There's a little bit of a kerfuffle going on right now with Amazon. And Amazon has for many years been a big source of affiliate income for a lot of bloggers across a lot of industries, and it's been really handy because if just, Amazon offers almost everything. So if we're talking about just about anything from dish towels to crampons, usually they're available on Amazon. We can link to it. And then our readers, after clicking through to Amazon, they could buy toilet paper. It doesn't matter what they buy. And people buy everything on Amazon. We would get a commission. And over the years, the commission structures have varied, but on the whole, affiliates, we've kind of built Amazon into what they are now, and they just recently dealt the death blow to affiliates, and that was basically they, in a very unassuming email, basically cut all of our commissions either to zero or by anywhere from 45 to 80%, to the point where we'll be lucky to make 1% to 3% commissions on objects and items for products and services that if we actually went to those companies themselves and actually developed individual affiliate relationships, we'd be earning something closer to 10 to 20% in commissions. So it's something that's been really difficult for us because, of course, Amazon is doing better than ever, and here affiliates we're all hurting these days. And some affiliate providers like Momondo, I know there's another one out there that they've just cut their programs entirely. So right now, in terms of affiliate income, we are in an environment where we're having to just weather the storm, first of all, but also this is another one of those experiences where I think it's important to never put your eggs in one basket, like you said, and also never to count on something being there forever. So for me personally, I'm working on eliminating my Amazon my links. It's going to be a very long-term project to find other services to work with and to flex with that with the industry as it changes. What are your thoughts?
I mean, we only really ever linked to books. So, I mean, for me, it wasn't a big deal. The death blow for us was when Amazon moved to just a flat fee for books. But we link out to books, and as you said, they have everything. But as you said, we try to link to companies as directly as possible because you'll get a much better affiliate rate. So, big companies like Amazon, you're not like, they don't care about you. That's it. You're not their concern. Jeff Bezos doesn't care about his affiliate partners the way, if you deal directly with, say, Bluehost or Intrepid or G Adventures or Walks or just, food tour operator, they would, because they're smaller, it's more personal.
And I think it's also important to know that affiliate income is only one of many ways to earn income by monetizing a blog. Bianca has asked, what are the usual or the main ways to earn income from a blog? And would you recommend certain ways of monetization over others? How are you doing it, Matt?
Affiliate income is one of our what is our biggest source? Ads. We have our own books. We have this blogging course that, I'm sure we'll talk about before the end of the hour. And we've really moved into a lot of community events. I used to run tours. We had t-shirts at one point. We have a Patreon now. So I think, you got to think about, well, what is useful for your readers themselves, right? I know bloggers who run tours. They love the experience, not really my cup of tea. There are people who have shirts or in products, gift cards and whatever, and that doesn't really work with my readers. So I think experiment a lot with different things. Ask your readers what they'd like, but also consider, you are in some ways your own consumer. If you have let's say me, a blog on backpacking, you kind of know what gear backpackers need, what products they want when they travel, because you're doing it yourselves. If you have a blog on fly fishing in Alaska, well, you fly fish in Alaska, so you know what kind of bait you buy, the gear you need. And so you kind of, in some ways, know what to sell because you're basically selling to yourself, right? If you're a backpacker, what do you want? You want a guidebook, so make a guidebook, right? You need some backpacks, do some affiliate stuff. I know a couple of people have their own gear lines. They decided to make that. And so I think just really taking a look at when you should always create your own products. Have something that you make yourself. Because, as you can see in this COVID environment, there's no affiliate revenue. So what you had, going back to what I said in the beginning, you have to fall back on your community. And your community is the stuff that they're going to buy stuff. Because you're going to have created something they want. And so when you experiment with that, throw spaghetti at the wall, but also just take a poll. Hey guys, I'm thinking of creating, some of my own stuff. What do you like? One thing is asking, what's your biggest pain point? I need X. And so, maybe X is one-on-one calling sessions, or maybe it's a book on, finance or something. You never know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Diversification is key as well as being able to, like you say, know your audience, make sure that you understand what their needs are and that you create the opportunities to serve them in a way that also gets you paid. I think this is really, that's the idea, the symbiotic relationship with our customers through blogging.
Right. Yeah. I want to actually answer Stefan's question.
Good. Yes.
But I think, if you think of, your readers are people. They're not just amorphous customers, but they're also customers, right? You have a product, which is yourself, that you're selling. And so I think in some ways, you don't want to think of that in personal terms, but you also got to realize that, this is a business, or, you're looking for income. So, your readers are people with a need. Fill that need the way a business, like a regular business would. But when it comes to sponsored content, do I think this will be negatively affected? 100%. I don't think you're going to see sponsored content for a really long time. I think you might see it from DMOs, but it's not going to be the way it was before, and it's going to be a lot less money. But and I think this is also an important thing. If this is the only way you're making money, you should never put all your eggs in one basket, right? You got it. This is one of the problems with so many Instagrammers today, is that sponsored content and those sponsored trips. And again, it goes back to what I was saying before. Never trade your time for money in a way. I mean, we always trade our time for money, right? But if you're doing things that is not passive, that always requires to be on, you're never going to get ahead, because you can only earn as much money as there are hours in the day. So you'll never have any sort of freedom. That's not a business, right? If you're only tied to it, you're 12 years from now, do you still want to be going on a sponsorship from a hotel? No, you need other sources of income, right? And so I think it's really important to, I'm not saying you shouldn't work with brands, but you should work with them in a way that's more long-term, more partnership-oriented than just a one-off sponsored post kind of thing, because those are the first things they're going to cut.
Absolutely. We're getting lots of great questions now, but unfortunately, I also want to respect everybody's time. We said that this would be an hour, and I don't want to take up any more time than we've said we would. But I do want to take some time to talk a little bit, because I do think that a lot of the questions that are being asked right now can be answered through your newly designed or redesigned course on the business of blogging. Now, I think you came out with this in 2016, I believe, when you first launched it. I remember auditing it. I'd been in the business for 10 years, and I thought, I'll just have a look and see what he's got to say. And I didn't really think I was going to learn anything, and I learned a ton with 10 years of experience in the business. I found it was an incredibly practical and useful resource, and it's something that every couple of years you have redesigned and updated. And I know that now twice a year you're making sure that you go in there and re-update the content, but you've just finished doing a full overhaul of the course. And I'm curious, is this best for newbie bloggers or experienced bloggers? Who did you design this course for?
Well, talking about monetization and the need to constantly update things, when I started the course back, we had a trial version like 2015, but I think we really launched in 2016. There are so many courses out there nowadays. Everybody's got a course. In fact, I know 3 bloggers during this COVID time that have launched their own courses. And so we're constantly updating it with information. But one thing that I really want to shift away from is just, here's some information, have fun. So now, we do weekly phone calls like this. We do an hour Q&A where everybody can ask me a question. So they're every Wednesday. Every week we also have one of our team members get on a call. So there's 2 live Q&As a week. There's unlimited tech support. You break it, we fix it.
Wow. I pay like $100 to my host every month for tech support, and I don't even get a fraction of that.
Yeah. And then once a month you can submit an article to me, and I'll read it and give you feedback and edits. So we wanted something that was a little bit more like a membership program, not a course. So now it's a monthly program. It's $25 a month for the first 3 months, and then $49 after that. Or you can just buy a whole year for $375, which is like a couple $100 off, like half off. And the goal being that rather than just being a course of information, it is a training program that involves hands-on help in teaching and mentorship. It's more of a mentor program than just like a course. Information is a commodity. If you guys want free information, go Google something. But if you're looking for a mentorship and tech support and weekly strategy calls and feedback in your writing, then come join Superstar Blogging. We'll give you all that, plus all the information you need.
Now, you and I are both in the travel blogging industry. Is this just for travel bloggers, or would somebody wishing to start a blog in a different industry benefit from your course as well and from your mentorship?
Well, it's not just travel. A lot of the examples are in travel, but if you were in a related field, you could get some use out of it. It's really more about how to develop an online industry, online business, and an online community. and, create something that lasts. I've been doing this for 12 years, helps people and makes you money, be more than just another influencer.
100%. And definitely you have demonstrated many times over that that anybody can make blogging into a successful and very profitable enterprise if you approach it the right way. And I know that when I audited your course, you talked about everything. You talked about, obviously, from the very beginning stages of how to set up your blog and choosing your platforms. I saw some people talking about WordPress and Squarespace. I know you talk about choosing the platforms and your domain, to initial marketing strategies, to more advanced marketing strategies, SEO, the search engine optimization, which of course a blogging business cannot exist without, as well as various ways to monetize, and in relation to the bigger picture of creating your personal brand, whatever that looks like. And that is very different for everybody. And you do have experience with all these modalities over the last 12 years and can speak with great authority to it.
Yeah. And Cynthia, we go into detail about how to build your mailing list. The course information is very much a survey thing. We cover all aspects of blogging. I mean, we keep adding information and people keep asking us more. So we added it in, and I mean, there's just so much in there. But it's that mentorship, I think, is really important because, there is such a fire hose of information online now. I mean, when we started, none of this existed online. There was no courses or anything like that. That it's not so much the information that you can't find, it's what you do with the information. And especially in an environment where there's so much content. How do you network with people? When we talked, there were 30 bloggers. So it was easy to just reach out and, get to know people. Now that there's 30,000 bloggers, how do you get heard above the noise? And so we talk about all of that stuff. Chris put the link in the chat, but when we send the recording, you can just you have your link, you can send it.
Yeah, absolutely. You are a font of information, Matt, and I really have enjoyed the last hour of talking shop with you and hearing you share your words of wisdom. Is there anything left on the tip of your tongue that you'd like to share with my readers?
Start today. I think, what's that Wayne Gretzky quote? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. One of the beautiful things about blogging is that there's very little cost of failure. You buy a domain for $10, you buy a year of hosting, for 80 or whatever, and you just try it out. And if it doesn't work, okay, you spent $100 and that was it. And if you really like it, you just go bigger and renew. And so it's not like opening a restaurant where you have to put tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars in. It's a couple $100 max initial commitment beyond time. So just start. You never know. You might like it. I never thought I'd end up here 12 years later.
No, you and me both. Boy, if you'd asked me 12 years ago how I'd be earning my living, this was not how it was going to be. So, I'm really, it's been amazing. It's been a great journey. And thank you everybody for sticking with us for the full hour. It's been a lot of fun. And I'm going to wrap it up now and say thank you very much, Matt, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Thanks everyone for coming, and see you in the blogging course maybe, or online somewhere.
Yep. You know where to find us.
Yes. Bye.